This is, of course, the 2016 World Congress on Ultrasound and Medical Education Conference. This is the Scientific Planning Committee, so thank you all for being here. And we'll start with a roll call and introductions. My name is Bryce Looney, and I've been hired to just do all the logistics and make sure that everything runs smoothly for this conference. So I'll be your main point of contact throughout the process of planning. If you have any questions or you need anything addressed, I'll be your main contact. So we'll go ahead and start at this location, then we'll go to the other two remote locations.
Okay, I'm Tom Tenner, Associate Dean, Faculty Affairs and Development, and I'm the Interim Managing Director for the Continuing Medical Education Office.
Jong-Hyuk Kim, Associate Professor in Neurology and Medical Education. I'm responsible for running logistics as well as scientific contact for World Congress in Ultrasound and Medical Education 2016.
My name is Ali Akbar Arvandi. I'm a cardiologist in Texas Tech, working here for 5 years and also a member of the ultrasound committee with committee since we started to work, and then that's pretty much it.
I'm Jennifer Mitchell. I'm professor in the Department of Family Medicine. I also run our sports medicine fellowship, and we utilize musculoskeletal ultrasound within that.
Robert Casanova, I'm associate professor in OB-GYN, so I do those ultrasounds, and assistant dean for the 3rd and 4th year curriculum.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and start with Amarillo. If you'd like to introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, it's Johnny Faircloth, pediatrics and sports medicine.
Thank you very much. And our next location, Odessa.
Go ahead. Jay Marr, I'm a maternal fetal medicine specialist, director of maternal fetal medicine for the Medical Center Hospital. Saji Joseph, I'm associate professor of surgery, vice chair of surgery at Texas Tech.
Very good. Thank you all for being here today.
We have two
more.
Here.
Oh, that just joined us, yes.
Hi, I'm Sharon Decker. I'm the executive director of Effingham Hall Sim Life Center and a professor in the School of Nursing.
Von Lee, I'm in the Department of Medical Education. I'm block director for clinically oriented anatomy and assistant dean of basic science curriculum.
And as you can see, there are some that aren't able to join us today. They've emailed me and said that they couldn't get out of either their rotation today. There's a few on there that will be joining us, of course, in later meetings. So thank you all for being here, and I understand that you all have very busy schedules, so I'll be trying to be cognizant of your time as we go through these meetings. When we first start, we'll probably meet every other month, and we can discuss that towards the end of the meeting, but towards the conference, as we get closer, we'll be meeting probably on a monthly basis. And so thank you again for your commitment to this project, and it's a really big scope. Just to kind of a general overview for the World Congress, this will be the 4th World Congress. This is the program from last year. And if you've never been before, it's a very, very cumbersome event. Lots of things going on, lots of moving parts. And for Texas Tech University Health Sciences Center to have this, it's really unprecedented, this size and this scope of coming to Texas Tech. I previously have worked at the undergraduate level doing the Engagement Scholarship Consortium Conference, which is a very similar size. And so it is doable, and it's going to be very exciting to have this here in Lubbock, really, because it's not only great for Health Sciences Center, but for the whole city of Lubbock, and then really for Texas as well. It's never been hosted in the southern region. So with that, I'd like to get into item 2, logistical updates. And this is really the most important because you'll kind of be able to visualize the conference itself in its venues. So with these 3 days, we'll start off, well, really 4 total, but Thursday, September 29th, 2016, will be the evening. And of course, I can email this all to you. Everyone's going to fly in from their various locations. A lot of them will be international. And then have an evening reception at the Overton Hotel. So check-in will be there. and then they'll be able to have a nice reception there in one of the ballrooms on the first floor, one of the Sunset Rooms. Friday, September 30th will be, of course, registration, breakfast, and then we're going to move everything actually to the Student Union Building Center on the undergraduate campus. Now, the reason for this is that we have to be able to hold 300 to 500 people all at one time. And so I have looked high and low all over Health Sciences Center, and I've asked the president to build me a room, and I don't think the time will be able to do that. So the Allen, a beautiful theater, the Allen Henry Theater in the undergraduate campus will be the perfect venue for this. We'll be able to fit in there, and it really creates a nice presence. It's recently been renovated if you haven't been there before, and it really sets the standard for an international conference. So I think that will be really our main focal point. Would you like to introduce yourself? Sorry to put you on the spot. We just finished introduction, so you're right on time, actually. My name is Bryce Looney, and if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Simon Williams. I'm the Associate Dean for Academic Affairs in the School of Medicine.
Thank you very much. And we are on item 2, going over logistics for really venues. So we're on Friday, September 30th. Everything's going to be held at the Student Union Building Center, like I said. And then also, of course, right across the hallway from that plenary session where we're going to have in the Allen Theater, we have the great breakfast room for the ballroom. So that will not only host as where we can have coffee breaks and breakfast, but also all the vendors and exhibitors. There's enough room in there to be able to have that direct contact. So that'll be 2 full days, Friday, September 30th, and Saturday, October 1st, 2016, of course, where those vendors will be able to have 2 full days to be able to have that interaction with all of the conference attendees. And that seems to be very important because in previous notes and feedback from the last World Congress, that was one of the maybe areas of opportunity where we can really serve those vendors well, because we want them to come back. A lot of them are giving a lot of fiscal contributions to this conference. And so that will, I think, appease both parties, being able to have that interaction time, as well as being able to have a solid setup where they can not have to move around. Then that evening, we want to show off, of course, the Piece de Resistance, the HSC Sim Life Center. We're going to have the courtyard. I'm planning on putting a tent up so we can use that to come rain or shine, just because it can be kind of awkward with that many people if we had to move everything indoors at the last second. And so it'll be hosted by the President's Office. So this will be a really nice event for everyone. Of course, this is lots of different organizations are coming together for this, but the President specifically said that he wants to have one of these events where he can call it his own. So in other words, we won't have to worry about any type of limitation. So I'm excited about that for that first really big event, because the Thursday night, the night before, is going to be smaller attendance because some people are going to fly in the next morning, or they might be too tired, or might have other arrangements. So this will really be the first opening reception and set the tone as far as evening events goes. And again, that'll be held here. Saturday, October 1st, again, will be another full day, and we'll be having shuttles the entire time, chartered buses going to the host hotels, which will be the Overton, of course, and then the new Hyatt is actually opening right next door to the Overton, and so that will, of course, great rooms because they're brand new, can't beat brand new, but also the location, it's ideal really for this. So then everyone will be at the Student Union Building Center, and again, the same exact setup. Now, if we have overflow issues and we want to do the World Cup like they did in years past, we can use the Mackenzie Marquette Alumni Center because of the proximity and also the adaptability of the rooms with all the air walls that they have. So we can make that either into 6 rooms for concurrent sessions or different type of breakout sessions, even workshops, or it can be one big workshop where we can do that ultrasound, different type of hands-on experiment where they use that ultrasound World Cup, as they call it. Then the evening reception for that night, Saturday, October 1st, will be at the National Ranching Heritage Center. I think that's something that's very unique to Lubbock, and that is a venue that you can't really replicate anywhere else. And especially, hopefully, in October, we have great weather, as we normally do. an outdoor venue on the patio with live fiddle bands. We're going to have a trick roper on his horse, and possibly the Matador mascot will come out. And I've seen it execute. I've done it before, and it looks really great. And some of the conference attendees have seen nothing like that, especially being international or maybe from a different coast. So I think that's very unique. And also Dr. Hoppen has been there before, and he really was excited about that as well. The last day, Sunday, October 2nd, will be breakfast at the Overton Hotel. So we're kind of doing a switch back to the hotel, where everyone will be staying anyway, or a close proximity hotel. And then we'll be doing an award session, another plenary session, but really then we'll have the break and everyone will leave from that point. Because you have to keep in mind that coming to Lubbock, as we all know, you don't just get from Dallas directly somewhere. You have to make that extra leg of getting to Dallas or Houston, or even Denver. Now we have a direct flight there, so they have to add that into their commute time. So most people will probably be gone after that first plenary session 5 on the last day, which is Sunday, October 2nd. And I'd like to take this moment just to let you recognize yourself. We all started introductions this morning, and I just want to make sure I don't miss anyone. I'm Bryce Lee.
Hi, I'm Sam Campbell.
Thank you very much for being here. And are there any other last names?
Ryan Alalawi.
What was your name again?
Ryan Alalawi.
Thank you very much for coming. So item 2 is logistical updates. Item 3 is the programming planning. Obviously, that's why we're all here. And I'll let Dr. Kim lead up that front. And if you'll notice on your agenda at the bottom, we have the proposed theme and proposed objectives. This is really getting into the content for everything. So I'll hand it over to Dr. Kim.
Do you have any questions regarding logistics? So this will be 2.5 day session. But if you have any suggestion regarding how to, since you have been in many different conferences, if you can give some feedback, and we're always open to any suggestions. And there is also steering committee and working on more logistics. And this committee will work on the more scientific. But I think if you have any great idea regarding running this conference, we are open to any suggestion. Dr. Tanner?
No great idea, just a question. But if I just want to follow, apparently on the 30th, we're going to do plenary session. Is it just plenary sessions and vendors, or will there be breakouts at the student union as well? I guess you haven't gotten that far, but are there facilities that we could get for those?
That's a great question, actually, and that is another reason why I did choose, or I should say we, because we have another steering committee for that as well, at the student union building, because not only do you have that one venue for the plenary speakers, but all the breakout sessions, concurrent sessions, workshops, they have rooms and accommodations. But that's a great question, and thank you for pointing that out. I haven't listed it on here just because it would probably be a 20-page document for that, just because there are so many breakout sessions. As I showed you at the beginning, there's just a lot of different concurrent sessions. And of course, the poster session is another thing to keep in mind, that they have a great Matador room just upstairs, and then a room adjacent to that where we can kind of have a dessert reception and coffee. So anytime you have food, it always brings people to those different locations. And so I think we'll really be able to utilize the student union building, but that's a great question.
There are enough, though, breakouts, because the students will be here at the same time. So the students will be sharing that building with us.
Luckily, they don't have classes in those rooms. The student union building treats it as kind of a business where they can rent out, and I've already secured it.
And you booked those good.
Yes. Now, the only thing for these dates is that have you heard of Texas Tech football? They control the city. As they should. It's the front porch of academics, and it's just how it is. There's no way around it. So we are really hindering on when they release the dates for football. If it is a home game, then I have tentatively held the weekend before and the weekend after for these venues. That's why no one will allow me to sign a contract yet because the football schedule has not been released. I've been in contact with the athletic directors, and they have a direct channel to the president's office, so hopefully they'll be first to know and can give me a wink or a nod if we can go ahead and sign some of these contracts. But everything is pending on that for date. So of course this conference is going to happen. It's going to be amazing, but we had to pick a date to start and plan everything. There's basically a 1 out of 4 chance that we will be able to, that we have to move, basically, because if it's a home game, we'll have to move the date. If it's a bye week, an away game, or we have the game in Dallas, they do that a lot, then we won't have to change these dates. So really, I'm hoping that the odds are in our favor, and the President's Office will be first to know here at HSC, and so we'll be able to keep these dates. But worst case scenario, we just move it a different weekend, and it'll be fine because we'll still have the collateral out for the marketing perspective way in advance. But that's a great thing.
So is speaking to our athletics department sufficient, or should we take it one more level beyond that and discuss it with the Big 12 Conference itself? Or are we just relying on Kirby Hocutt to help us here?
If I honestly, that's a great question because I think that if we had a contact,
If you have a contact,
we would love that.
Yeah.
Yes.
We'd like to know.
I'll talk to
this.
Kirby, and then we'll see if we need to talk to Mr.
Okay,
Goldsby.
so
Yeah.
if we can get the date as soon as possible, that'll be great.
Okay.
And 2 reasons. First, we definitely can set the date. But I think there is some conflict of interest. So I don't think we really can upfront to say, oh, this is the date. But
Right.
at least when we make some initiation, that will be very helpful.
I'll find out how flexible it is. I'll work on that.
Again, that's why we have committees. So if
Yeah.
someone has a connection, that would be very
That would
helpful.
be great.
Yes. My background is in the hotel industry before I got into conference planning, and I know that it's very proprietary, and they do not release that information because the different types of price locks up that hotels put in with 3-night minimum stays and special event pricing, which is, in my opinion, price gouging. But that's just part of the business. That's what everyone does. So there's a lot of different political ties to that. But again, if you have any insight, that would be very helpful.
And can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we just want to make sure. And then if you have difficulty hearing us, please let us know because Bryce and my voice tone is very low, so I might have to speak up. But let us know anytime if you have any problem.
Yes, and don't feel free rather to introduce any ideas that you might have as we go along. A few more, really just stats from years past for the World Congress. They had at the last one, 2014, 500 attendees. 80 of those were medical school students.
Oh, 80 medical schools represent.
Oh, 80 medical schools represented.
Yeah.
Sorry, we just had this conference call yesterday. And then 56 physicians. 3% were administration for medical school. 18% were medical students. 18% were other, and 4% sonographers. They received, or had rather, 18 vendors, $120,000 in sponsorships with 11 universities present, and they had CME credits, about 13 hours, which were accredited. So it'll probably be very comparable to that. So we're going to plan for anywhere between 300 to 500 attendees for this conference.
Did you say 56 were physicians?
Percent.
56%.
56%.
Uh,
Yes. No.
I just did 10%.
56
I'm sorry.
percent were physicians.
My bad.
No, I might have misspoke as well. And we do have, luckily, the registration information for all the past conferences, so that'll make strategic marketing a lot more efficient, which I'll get to later in the program. And at that point, are there any other questions before we really dive into the theme and objectives?
Any other question? Permian Basin? Okay.
No.
Perfect.
I was at the Texas Surgical Society, and I'm a candidate, so you go around, meet everybody, and kind of beg them to vote for you. But one of the things they talked about was when the Texas Surgical was out here one time, and they had activities at the Ranching Heritage Center. And that was something that they spoke very favorably about, and was one of the first comments they made. So I think that's really great you're using that.
Thank you. Yes.
Just so I don't forget, as we start talking about marketing and the pool of individuals to invite, I think we need to look at advanced nurse practitioners because ultrasound is moving into their career very heavy, so that will give you a whole new pool of individuals.
Yes, and what was the word? Practitioner?
The advanced nurse practitioners.
Advanced nurse practitioner, thank you.
So yeah, I think for that part, we can move to agenda 3.
Program planning?
Program planning, conference theme and objectives, and selection of planners, keynote, and speakers. So, and first, if you look at the bottom of this page, and we tentatively put the proposed theme. And the first year, they have used ultrasound as 21st century stethoscope. The last year was, then I think they didn't, second, they didn't specify. But third year, last year was point of care ultrasound was the main theme. So they emphasized this aspect. But what about this theme? Human touch with disruptive innovation, changing lives. So the main reason I choose discuss with Dr. Hoffman is, and there is another aspect because we have so many technology and the imaging, so we don't have time to interact with patients. But I think ultrasound will be very unique opportunity using technology as well as to bring human touch. So from that perspective, and this theme will be perfect. And at first, we discussed whether adding some physical examination as subtitle. But Dr. Hoffman's suggestion is instead of adding it, because that is just a part of the ultrasound, also bring that to your suggestion. Now, nurse practitioner, EMT, there are many different subspecialties, and not only medical physicians, but anatomists. So we need to embrace all these audiences. That is why we put this human touch with the disruptive innovation and changing lives. And you probably know Dr. Eric Topol, he emphasized disruptive innovation. And one of the main intentions was to bring him here as a keynote speaker, but he already booked up, he could not. For that context, if you have any keynote speaker from your perspective, any prominent speakers you can think of, please let us know, because we can also bring them. One of the intention is how to integrate ultrasound with more deep, diverse specialties as well. So currently we are discussing possibly with Dr. Burgess, and he didn't say anything formally, but Dr. Berg, he foresee no, and also Dr. Mitchell. I didn't know that until 2 days ago. She was one of the residents, first resident.
Actually, medical student.
Student? No, okay, yeah. So, and she knows him very well. So we try to invite him as a guest speaker. But if you have any suggestion, also let us know. And also, if you look at the left, the next proposed objectives, so from 1 to 6.
Are these learning objectives? Are they teaching? These look like they're written from our objective. This is what we are going, our objective is to offer the participants.
Yes.
They're not really learning objectives of what the participants are supposed to.
No, so the conference, so if they come, and these are what we try to.
This is what we're going to provide.
Got it. So, I was told when when we had the teleconference yesterday with SUSME, Society of Ultrasound and Medical Education, Dr. Hoffman, and they emphasized maybe we need more education aspect because first and second, third, maybe we are lacking some component. But also, we will give you time, so until next meeting or in the meantime, also we will communicate through email. But if you have any suggestions or anything to change, let us know. That is also one of your responsibilities and then also your privilege to structure this program. So highlight historical context surrounding ultrasound use at bedside and future directions, and outline core clinical use, and then describe utility point of care, and provide hands-on application for this one. That is why we have workshop and the hands-on session as well. And then share samples of ultrasound application, medical education. And since this using ultrasound medical education fairly new, still we have a lot of conversation and discussion what will be the appropriate way to assess as well as evaluate the program. So if this should also be included. And discuss widespread adoption of ultrasound. That means we need to bring nursing school and allied health. And you may know, even speech pathologists have used ultrasound. Do you know how? Because they put ultrasound, actually see the movement of the tongue. So one of the speech pathology faculty, I taught her how to use it, and then she is now currently using ultrasound to speech therapy. So there are many different applications. I think also I will try to bring them to this program so we can have diverse audiences as well as diverse specialties. And so regarding the proposed theme and the proposed objectives, do you have any comment, suggestion at this point? As I told you, we will give you at least a couple of weeks so we can get more feedback from all of committee members. Dr. Alroy?
I really like the proposed theme. I mean, this is directly applied to something I was doing in the ICU yesterday where we were kind of a patient on a vent. We were interacting with the patient by showing her ultrasound pictures while we're actually doing a clinical assessment at the same time. I mean, I really like the proposed theme. One of the objectives and what I like the examples of using it in medical education. Mm-hmm. A big question comes up for us in training programs is how do you teach it?
Yeah.
In other words, we assume that a senior resident is going to show the intern or the junior resident how do you put it aligned. And somewhere along the mix, there's a hand-me-down skill, not necessarily properly obtained, but a hand-me-down skill of here's how you stick a probe and do a line. Mm-hmm. And there are other applications that keep coming up. Our current group of students, I mean, it's a big difference when I do their sim lab session in their third year clerkship. Mm-hmm. I don't have to introduce ultrasound anymore. I just tell them use this probe and move from there because the previous 2 years they've been trained in using it and know the frequency and so on. But not all faculty use ultrasound or are very comfortable with it. I would take it beyond just undergraduate medical education.
Yes.
I mean, to accomplish these, how do we teach it? I mean,
so
a time-efficient, concise way, because if you really go with a proper, I don't know if it's proper, but for example, one of the more expanded forms of education that's a CHEST adopted, it's 4 two-day courses along with 120 images that you need to kind of upload and get critiqued, and then that's probably ideal, maybe, but how can I teach my 40 residents and my 40 internal medicine faculty if all are interested or if some are interested? How can you do it in a time-efficient manner and kind of propagate that education. I would include that in the, sort of, something like teaching ultrasound in a busy clinical residency or a busy clinical department, something like that, example like that.
That's a great breakout session
Yeah.
for you to do.
Something like that,
Yeah.
something.
So maybe adding how to train or how to teach faculty.
Faculty and
what
how
is
to
the
incorporate
effective
it.
way to teach ultrasound.
And how to integrate it in GAB programs. We say, there's a one-liner said that we're expected, for example, in critical care to not only have an exposure, but the expectation is to train the fellows in it. How do we do it?
So integration. So,
Yes,
integration into.
More graduate medical, this is more focused than
Right.
just, I know medical education in general, but
Yeah, you can't teach it undergrad until the grad people and the faculty.
right
are
there,
actually doing
that's
it.
exactly, so how do you go to a school that doesn't have much of an exposure and say, well, I'm going to give you this number of machines and let's move ultrasound.
And actually, I think that's a great, if that's a breakout session, I think it's a great time to do the, remember when we did the faculty development and we had like 30 people from all walks of life and everybody learned everybody else's technique? I think that's a great kind of
So
template to use.
I think so.
then action item is, why don't you email to us your other suggestion?
Okay.
I will put everything together. And there is two committees, and then this is local scientific committee for the TGHSC, and the other committee is the Society of Ultrasound Medical Education, World Congress. They have the president, I think some other people, what they win focus. So we will have the two committees, and then we will also discuss. And hopefully next time I can ask Dr. Hoffman to join us whenever we have this another meeting, so he also can share what is the Society of Ultrasound in Medical Education, the vision and the goals. But if you give us feedback in the next 2 or 3 weeks, I will put together. Also, I will discuss the agenda and the objective again with Dr. Hoffman and the Society of Ultrasound in Medical Education.
That might also help, though, the audience that we're attracting
Yes, sir.
are people who already know ultrasound or who are interested in using it to teach.
Yes.
This is not physicians or people who want to come to learn ultrasound. This is more of an academic
Yes.
group who already are familiar with ultrasound and are investigating different ways to use it, teach it, improve it.
So scope of audience in the first year, the first World Congress dedicated for probably School of Medicine faculty, how to embrace. And the other one is WinFocus is one of the active group in the globally. So they try to teach ultrasound even third world. I think Dr. Lee, you are one of the member of the WinFocus. So even WinFocus, there is a physician, also there is anatomist, other people. So their main goal is how to spread ultrasound out, but to use ultrasound to improve patients' care. But I don't think they have a component of medical education, especially undergraduate, graduate, because their main focus is mainly for the practitioner. I think that then these two come together. The second year, we have more diverse audience. Third year, we have some more medical students. And then, as you can see, as the Bryce explained to you, about 56% is physicians, but there is 18% medical students. I hope, and then 2016, we will have, definitely, there is rare presence by nurse practitioner. No, there was none. Very, very limited. But I think we can bring different schools and allied healthcare providers to this conference. So, and also we need to think about and how we can embrace or how we can entice them to come here. So any other suggestions, any other questions, practical? Any questions?
I have plenty of notes, but I'll email them when the time comes.
Okay. So, and the number 4 item is subcommittees. Okay, you can go for the wall.
Document camera. So there's lots of other committees, of course. We have a national planning committee. We have a local steering committee, which is mostly just chief of staff and Dr. Kim. But really the ones that are going to be, we're getting all the recognition and doing all the work, of course, subsequently, are the 3 listed. The award committee, the abstract or review and approval committee, and then the ultrasound World Cup committee. So of course the award committee is self-explanatory. That's the last day. That will be more of the kind of fun and pomp and circumstance. And a lot of the work, but also the quality of the conference will be directly related on that second committee, in my opinion. I think that's where really a lot of decision-making goes into who gets approved, the quality, and also I think a small, very dedicated group is ideal for this. And so that I will leave up to everyone that is part of this committee. They are welcome to join this. It will be rather time-consuming, but I'm planning on using a very, very efficient computer program, Exodus, where everything's digital. It's not like there's going to be emails back and forth. So it will be very user-friendly as far as the organizational structure of this system. However, there's still going to be the fact that they'll be reviewing. So please just kind of think about those different committees and see if there's one that you'd like to be on, and then let me know either via email or in our next meeting. If you can't make the next meeting, that's perfectly fine, just to let me know so I can start building those committees and we can start having individual meetings. And we won't bog you down with a lot of different meetings, but just really getting the job done and making sure that we have the best World Congress that there's ever been, and so we can represent Texas Tech University Health Sciences Center, because it's all about the quality of what they're coming to see. So keep those in mind. Now, the Ultrasound World Cup Committee, that is something that has been done in the past, and the attendees seem to love this. Now,
Do you know what World Cup and the league?
Dr. Kim, would someone like to expand on that?
Yeah.
So essentially, the medical students there, they submit as a team, and then they start off with a number of rounds, and it's kind of an elimination process. So one medical school or student team goes against the other. They have 2 standardized patients set up with a sonosim system that can mimic pathological findings for ultrasound. They're given a brief presentation of what the patient's symptoms are, and they may be asked to, okay, get a scan of the liver and then make a diagnosis. And so they go, whoever gets it first gets the buzzer, and if they get it right, that team gets a point, and then each team is eliminated up until the final round. I think it was on the last day. It's kind of a big deal, and you have the last 2 teams up there, and they go for the big prize. And, I know our students that were with us in Oregon, in Portland, they were really excited. They wanted to know why they didn't get to do this. So it was pretty cool. Obviously, a lot of work has to go into
If we can get the same
putting the
announcers, it would be great.
case report. Yeah, the 2 guys that do a blog for ultrasound, they're really good. So.
What was that comment? The announcers?
The announcers were.
So that can make or break.
Yeah, because I mean the students are just there panicking, trying to scan the eye. But the announcers were just brilliant.
Yeah.
It was very entertaining. The audience was, I mean, it was in the center hall of the of their version.
Yeah, there was a
ACB.
reception, drinks.
Wild.
It was a lot of fun.
So do you have any similar activities, your own conference or something, OBC, family medicine?
We have that in chest. We call it chest challenge.
More likely, so resident
That's fellows.
fellows.
So-
Okay. So-
The simulation community does one every year, very
Oh,
similar to that. They compete.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and they love it.
In North Texas, they do a deal for the residents. It's a Jeopardy.
Okay. So yeah, I think it is the same concept, but we they call the Ultrasound World Cup, because World Congress, World Cup, probably that is. So this is one thing. We can do it, or we don't necessarily do it. And one of the comments by organizer at the Portland was, this is quite, I'm not sure how costly it was, but a lot of effort to have this event full day from the morning and in the evening. So that was one of the comments. But I was told feedback is very positive. And so hopefully we are considering doing it. So that is what the Ultrasound World Cup Committee will do.
But as you can see, it takes a lot of moving parts of the World Cup faculty, and then, of course, like Dr. Kim said, fiscal commitments that we'd have to make as well. So just kind of a general census, do we think that that's something that we want to proceed with? We can discuss that in further meetings. So just be kind of thinking about that. And if it's, we have these things already and it might water something else down, that might not be the best suit for us. But if this really is truly a world stage, maybe this is the best time to do it.
There were 11 teams.
So 2014, 11 teams. More like ultrasound interest group from
different medical schools. And so then there had to be 50 challenges, or 50 sims of different things to look at. If you're doing 222,
yes,
maybe not that many, less than that.
It was a lot. It ran all day.
It was a lot.
But I guess what I'm saying is, where do those cases come from?
I think that also we need to discuss. Last year they used a SonoSim. You may have seen, because they
I
have
heard you talk about it,
So the SonoSim, they can simulate. Also, they have special tag,
right?
Especially if you have SP standard patient for a tag. If you put a probe, then it will show the pathology or normal findings. So 2014 they have used it, and one of the critiques I reviewed was, they use the SonoSim a lot, more like conflict. But that is the only available software we can run it.
I don't think, that would be okay. I guess what I'm worried about more is when the word starts to get out there doing this.
Yes.
I assume the SonoSim has a certain limited number of cases, and then people will be dropping in to SonoSim to get ready for the event.
Yeah, I think that is.
That's what I was wondering, how the cases are generated.
We can discuss with the SUSME, and then we have. We can
honestly,
some other.
you can get the cases from 2 years ago and just reuse them, because it's a matter of they give you a scenario and they have tags on the standardized patient all over the place.
Right.
There's only so many places that they can put it, so they have to do the right one. And what they do is they have on an elevated stage, they have 2 standardized patients like humans with like a tag over the eyeball, a tag on the liver and whatnot, and they give you the case and then they had to find the image. They have huge screens behind them so you can see what each one of them is showing. And once they get it, they hit the buzzer and then they get to respond. But they actually have to get the image on the screen. So it's okay if they know. I mean, it's pretty obvious it's going to be the liver or the kidney, but they have to get the actual image on the screen.
I guess that's what I'm worried about. I don't want people to be able to practice.
Cheating. I hate
beforehand.
Practice.
So have we engaged our IT department in this yet?
In certain aspects, not necessarily the World Cup, but in other aspects. Now, for a logistical standpoint, that is a great point. We won't be able to host it at the Sim Life Center. We'd have to move it somewhere where we have more interaction, unless we could fit it all into like the evening cocktail reception, and that's just not enough time. And I also don't want to detract from that either. So it would have to be shifted to a location near the Student Union building, which again would increase cost.
But you could have the playoffs in a corner somewhere, and then have the final at a reception cocktail.
Yeah,
that might
so
be.
The way that they did it is they had them in several different rooms. They have this huge version of the ACD that's for, it's an interprofessional, so it's for nursing, pharmacy, everybody. So it's got this huge center hall, atrium, and then it has a lot of different rooms. So all of the breakout sessions were in the different rooms, and it was going on in several rooms at the same time, as you can imagine, like tennis match. But the finals were during a reception in the evening, and so everybody's getting cocktails and food and whatnot and watching the event. So it probably took 35 minutes for the final.
And compared to 2014, 2016, if we host it properly, we will have more than this. Because now more ultrasound interest grew and the school has been. So this could be a huge commitment. But if you want to bring more medical students, this will be also a good way to draw them.
Have we picked our team yet?
Oh,
I'm on it. I'm on it.
so yeah, we can. Also,
I'll just do
some
it.
other schools have two
Or we can
teams.
have competition
Not
to
one.
get the team.
And actually, you
with,
do have competitions to
Yeah.
get to the team. I think that would be really.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I will.
So one of the versions, for example, we do at chest is, I mean, it's not the hands-on piece is towards the end only, but you have it's open competition and online competition is open to all programs,
Okay.
and you eliminate. There's a process of first elimination, and the top 3 or 4, something like that,
Okay.
get to do the semi-final, and then the chest challenge, the big deal Jeopardy game, including the hands-on sim lab, and the actual game at chest happens between the 3 top teams.
Do you know who runs at the
We do.
competition?
I'm kind of part of that too.
Yeah, and that if we can get some template logistics, how they start, maybe we also can implement.
Yeah,
That's great.
Because then you don't waste.
So we don't bring in
Facilities.
100. It's like 140 programs to compete.
Yeah.
But in the end, the actual conference has only 3 teams.
Unless the job is to bring medical students.
You do want to bring that.
Yeah, we want to
Then we
bring
wanna have
medical
a
Yeah, but
students.
see, they come
And I'll tell you that
Yeah.
First World Congress, one of the neatest things about it in South Carolina was that the students actually hosted the reception. And so it was a museum, and there were students everywhere, at every single table, and they were very well prepped in telling you how ultrasound was integrated into their curriculum. They were ambassadors of ultrasound, and it was very impressive.
So, yeah, I think we can probably mediate, and then probably there is a screen process, but to bring as many teams as.
But if you want to say that you're limited to
Or we can choose
15 teams,
Yeah, we can choose the number of teams. and then-
it also gets the buzz going.
Yeah,
on
they
that.
come in first.
So, regarding that also, and regarding the review committee abstract, I was told 2014 about 160 and 180. So in short period of time, that will be a big commitment. So, and
What's
let us
the
know.
180? Total abstract submitted, is that what it is?
Yeah, total abstract. And they reviewed was 160, 100, but it could go up. So if you think about the time commitment, and this, if we started, this should be done timely manner. So this could be quite chunk of time. So
Can you involve other members of the society? I mean, most like ASPED or other societies, you use society members to, because then you have areas of expertise.
Yes, I think that we will discuss it. But one of the suggestions by the SESME was maybe having not many reviewers, because that it takes time to review, and then
right.
at least. So their suggestion was maybe 2 or 3, and each the National Sesame Scientific Committee and then TTUHS local committee.
Got it.
And then if there is opinion needed, maybe we can ask. But their suggestion is not to get many people to involve in terms of review. So that was one of.
I'm thinking more expertise.
Yeah, expertise.
Of reading something and knowing what's really good and what isn't quite so good.
So regarding the first, I think the reviewers, then the like scales, and then we will have the online system. But if you may have to review certain numbers in a certain period of time.
You have to remember, I failed the ultrasound course.
He's intermediate.
Okay, so that will be excused. Okay, so then we can move the next 5 and 6.
Very good.
5 is March.
Were there any comments from the remote sites before we move on?
No, I agree with from the World Cup standpoint, I think getting the students in is a really good idea. I think that kind of makes it much more of a cohesive group. I would prefer to have more students in that than less.
Perfect. Any other comments? Very good. We'll move on to item 5 with marketing update. This is just, again, to give you an overview of what we are doing for the scope of marketing. Of course, we have the Save the Date flyer, which you all have been given via email, and then also today here if you are in Lubbock. So this is our first draft. We do have the Health Sciences marketing team working on a new refreshed version, just because the more unique, I think, to West Texas, the better. So we're going to have something that's, of course, an international option, and then something that's a little more unique to West Texas to really entice people. Why do they want to come? Of course, of the education aspect, but it's also a tourism component that kind of will draw people in as well. Number 2 is the Save the Date postcard, which will be the exact same thing except mailed out. Promotional video I'm very excited about. We've done this before for other conferences of similar scope and size, and this really is something that can speak volumes because you can send it, of course, in an email. You can post it on social media. It's easy to share, and the quality is just going to be great. So I'm really excited about sharing that video, hopefully at our next meeting. And if not, to the meeting after that, our date, as you can see, is November 18th, so we can present it to the President's Council. Number 4 will be a more detailed flyer with call for papers and posters, and then after that, registration now open, just getting a little more specific. And then, of course, as we get those keynote speakers, plenary speakers will be able to feature some of those, and then, of course, conference signage and the final program. Number 6, our future meeting schedules and new items. Did everyone like the doodle poll that we used? Is there any other way that you guys prefer to be able to set those up?
Are they always going to be on the same day at the same time?
I'm going to try to not do that, because if you have a commitment like the ones that cannot be here today, it's because they either have clinics, rotations, or something that they can't get out of, and it is every Tuesday morning or Wednesday morning. So I want to try to change it up. And so I think using a doodle poll would be the most efficient way, unless there's some other comments. I'm open to suggestions, because I'd love to be able to say it's the first Wednesday of every month or the first Friday, like the art trail or something, but I just don't want to to isolate anyone that does have a commitment on a regular basis. So is everyone in agreement that we just kind of play it by ear each time? And as we get closer to the conference, we might have to get a little more solid on a date and time, because we're going to be meeting monthly, but for now it'll be every other month leading up.
The only issue is for most clinicians, if you tell us ahead of time, we might be able to block some time, but if it's a doodle poll, it's going to be like a random crapshoot.
Every time. So do you think maybe it would be better now?
I don't know, but for most of us, if you say, when are you free in 4 weeks, I'm booked. But if you say, starting in March, it's going to be the first Wednesday, then we can sort of work on that.
And you can depend on that date.
That's been my
experience. I think setting aside a fixed time, if it's far enough in the future, allows you to block your schedule and make that priority.
Or at least to get an hour and a half of coverage in your clinic, but you need to sort of know way ahead of time.
Okay. So if I said the second Wednesday of every month at 8 a.m., is there any wild red flags just for that? And of course, you'd have to go check your calendars, and maybe not next for the immediate month, but would that seem to work for everyone? Second Wednesday of every month at 8 a.m.? We'll just go from there, and then, of course, there's people that aren't here right now, so if there's something that they can't get out of, we'll see if we need to reassess that. But thank you.
Week of every...
The second Wednesday of every month, but we'll do every other month until about 6 months leading up. And you don't have to remember all this. I'll send it all out via email. I just wanted to get your feedback. Are there any other feedback from the remote sides on that before we move on?
Either way, I'm okay.
What was that? I'm sorry.
4 weeks or so is plenty of time for me, so whatever the group decides.
Okay, perfect. And like I said, I'll send everything out via email. So let me know if there's major conflicts. Any other new items that anyone would like to bring up at this time before we adjourn? I want to be cognizant of everyone's time. It's 8:58. Any comments from the remote sites or questions, comments?
No.
Very
Thank
good.
you. Then we will see you in November.
Yes, thank you very much for your time and effort on this, and I'm very excited to host the World Congress with you. Thank you very much.
Can I make an announcement to those of you here tomorrow?